Boom. All right.
Are you having? Oh, you're just gonna do it like that? Hi, teacher.
All right. Can I use this real quick? Thank you. Hi, how we doing, fam? How we doing? All right. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is the psychological effects of divorce, and I'd like to start that off with a story. I grew up in a divorced home at the age of 12. At the age of 8, I saw my father physically abuse my mother by slamming her into the ground. He was about to get on top of her and punch her, but my brother was there and just, frankly, kicked him in the nuts. And we got out of there really quick. We got out of there very fast. And I have such a heart for this. I have such a passion for letting everyone know that the psychological effects of children of divorced parents are immensely important. Now, what I'd like to start off with is what God says about divorce. Now, in Mark 5, Mark writes, this is Jesus talking. He says, furthermore, it has been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you, whoever divorces his wife for any other reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. And now I bring up that verse because many people marry divorce for many illegitimate reasons. And I believe that God designed us to be holy because he loves us. Because his love for us is so great that he wants us to have good relationships, not just with a husband and wife, but with each other. And not only does God love us, but he also loves the children. He loves the children. Little babies and all of them. And so how does that divorce, that separation of parents affect the children? I'd like to do a little whiteboard thing. How many of you guys have, somebody that's divorced or your parents are divorced? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. What are some reasons for getting a divorce that the parents have said or that you've deduced?
Money.
Money!
Money problems.
Money! More money, more problems. All right?
Yes.
Exactly.
They didn't get along.
They didn't get along. So, incompatibility.
Yeah, there you go.
Incompatibility.
Bad sex life.
Bad sex life. Oh, I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, that's probably true. Bad
Oh my Lanta.
sex life. All right. Now, what do all 3 of these things have in common? Well, glad you asked. Let me tell you. They are all based on one thing. They are all based on happiness. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the psychological stages that we grow up with, but the average marriage lasts about 8 years. Usually, the child will be about from 5 to 8, and from as soon as the baby is born to adolescence, which is about 10 to 12, the child is in a stage called imitation. This is what they're imitating. Because they see that their parents would like to have happiness more than holiness. Not only that, more than commitment. We're growing up in a generation, we're growing up in a society that is based on feeling. Let's not just get philosophical, let's go practical. I want to give you some facts. McKinley Irving writes that 43% of children growing up in America today are being raised without their fathers. Let me give you that in a more practical sense. You're born as a baby. I flip a coin. If it's heads, you get a father. If it's not, you don't. This is the world we live in. Number 2, it shows how we don't... This is more generalized, but it shows how we don't know how to actually handle a real relationship. And that repeats on for generation, for generation, for generation. If a kid is not shown how to maturely talk to another kid and grows up that way and never has a mature conversation and always lives off of feelings, they are probably more likely to make the same mistake. People who come from broken homes are almost twice as likely to attempt suicide than those who do not come from broken homes. And last one for you. This is McLennan Sadafer from her book Growing Up with a Single Parent: What Hurts, What Helps, from Harvard University. She writes, children of divorced parents are twice as likely to drop out of high school than their peers who are still living with parents who are together. Why do I say this? I say this because we are living in a generation that is ultimately chained down, ultimately imprisoned. And not only do I hate to hear about that as a Christian, I hate to see that as an intern at a church where I see middle schoolers who come up to me and say, hey, my parents are going through a divorce, what do I do? And I have to be someone who has to literally look them in the eye and say, there's nothing you can do. When I was 8 years old and I saw my dad throw my mom to the ground, I couldn't have done anything. We as a generation, we have the opportunity to make the choice to commit. There's a saying back when in the 1500s and 1600s, people would go exploring, and as soon as they got there, the captains would burn the ships. And I would like to encourage you guys, that's what marriage is. There's no turning back. And that means even in the little things, even in the things that are really hard, burn the ships. Because we serve a God who burned all the ships that he had to save us. Thank you.